Okay, welcome everyone. In our class today, we'll talk about trade and logistics. So this will be the agenda for today's call, and we'll start by looking into how to create a product and how to create a product masters, and how to authorize that product setup to the legal entity. A legal entity means a specific unique company. Both these topics will be under product information management module, and then we'll jump into how to create an item model group, how to create an item group, and then inventory model group. These two topics will be part of inventory and warehouse management. And the next one would be how to create a batch and how to create a serial number and assign these two to a product. And because we are talking about the product again, this topic will also be part of product information management. And then we'll look into how to create unit of measurement for the item, which will be part of an organization administration module. And next comes is how to create a trading tracking dimensions and what options you have when you're creating a tracking dimension. And similarly, storage dimensions. These two topics will be also part of the product information management, because these tracking dimension and storing dimensions will be finally be configured on a product. So that is why these two topics will be part of product information management. And the next comes is journals. We have many different kinds of journals like movement journal, transfer journal, accounting journal. We will discuss about these topics, and these journals will be part of inventory and warehouse management. Then comes sales cycle, purchase cycle, and inventory cycle. If you see in the sales cycle, we have basically two modules, that is account receivable and sales and marketing. Using these modules, we will discuss how we can create sales orders, how we can reserve those items against sales orders, and how to do a pick list, and how to finally invoice the sales order to the customer. This is a sales cycle. And when it comes to purchase orders, purchase cycle, we will see how we create a purchase order for a vendor, how to do a product receipt for a purchase order, and how to do an invoice for a purchase order. And we will also see how to create a credit note and debit note. And then comes transfer orders. Again, how we ship the items in the transfer order, how we receive the transfer order, and what are the reports which are involved, like inventory on hand report and inventory value report, inventory transaction reports. So in our today's class, we will cover all these topics from 1 to 20. And this serves as a basics for you to become a successful consultant. So that is all about sales order creation. Now, as per our agenda, we'll look at the purchase orders. Purchase cycle. So for creating a purchase cycle, again, you have two modules. Either you can go into account payable, or you can use the procurement and sourcing module. I click on account payable. In the common sections, you can see a lot of options like vendors, purchase, vendor invoices, payments, posted checks. On the right hand side, you can see journal sections, and the report section, and the inquiry section, periodic section, and the setup section. This is about the account payable. And before talking about the purchase orders, we need to talk about vendors. In order to create a new vendor or edit the existing vendor, you have to come to the common section, and under the vendors you click on the all vendors form. A new form will open with the list of all the vendors available in your system. If you want to edit the vendor, select the vendor from the list and click on the edit button under the maintain group. Clicking on that will open a new form. So in this form, I'll click again. Okay, this is the vendor form. In this form, you have multiple sections like general, address, contact information, miscellaneous details, vendor profiles, purchase demographics, purchase order defaults, payment, tax, Financial dimensions. If you remember, it is very similar to the customer master. If I go into the general tab, you'll see all the information about the vendor account and the type of the vendor, name of the vendor, which group it belongs to, the number of employees for this vendor, if it is an organization, what is the address book, which language this vendor use, and under the address section you can add the address of this vendor. And under the contact information, you can add the contact information for this vendor. You can add multiple email addresses, multiple phone numbers, multiple URL addresses, but the only criteria is you have to specify which among them is the primary one, so that when you create a purchase order, system will automatically come to this section and identifies the primary address, and it picks and prints it onto the purchase order confirmation report. And if you go to the invoice and delivery section, you can specify the invoice account here, and sales tax group, UPS zone it belongs to, delivery terms, and under the purchase order defaults, this section is basically when if you can specify the site and warehouse and charge group and purchase pool. All this information, if you specify it here, and when you create a purchase order, all this information will be picked it up from here, and it will be defaulted onto the purchase order without you having to manually enter the information. And under the discount section, if you have any discount agreed with the vendor, you can specify it here. You have multiple options like multi-line discount, total discount group, price group, line discount group. All the information can be added here, and these will be the default options. And if you go to the header sections, you also have an option on hold. Like for example, if you want this vendor to be on hold, if you can click on hold form, it will give you a drop down. Here in the first option is vendor hold. Here you can select on which section you want this vendor to be on hold. Is it an invoice, or for all the sections, or is it just a payment, or is requisition, or never? I think I'll just select no, so that this vendor will not be on hold. If you want to automatically set a date for this vendor to be released from the hold, you can set it here. And the reason code, you can specify what is the reason for placing this vendor on hold, and apply hold on all legal entities. If you enable this, if this vendor is in multiple legal entities, in all the legal entities this vendor will be placed on hold. If it is disabled, the vendor will not be on hold. In the new section, you can click on the vendor button, and it will this will be used to create a new vendor. It will open a new form. This is the new form where you can specify all the information which is not grayed out. For example, you can select the group of the vendor, number of employees, and everything. You can give an address here, and you can give the contact information here, and all that. If you're not going to create a new vendor, we'll use the existing vendor to discuss about this topic further. Okay, so this is the vendor I'm going to select. So if you see on the header section, we are on the vendor tab. Now you have an option here to add vendor to another legal entity. If you click on this, it will give you an option to select your company, vendor group, currency, and vendor hold. Selecting this option and clicking OK, what it does is it will also directly copy this vendor to another legal entity. Right now this vendor is in ECEU. If you want to select and copy this vendor to an Indian local entity like another country, you can do it from this button, by clicking on this button. This functionality is used for that. And if you click on the contacts, it will give you a list again, view contacts, add contacts. If you want to add a new contact for this vendor, you can do it from here. And if you want to view the existing contacts for this vendor, you can click on it, and you will be able to see the list of contacts that are available for this vendor. And next comes the setup section. In this setup section, you have bank account. If you have a bank account for this vendor, click on this, and you can specify the bank information for this vendor. By clicking on new, you will be able to add all that information, the bank group, bank account number, name, and the tax code, everything, all that information. Summary information is not that important, so we'll skip to the next section. Certification. If this particular vendor has any certification, you can click on the certification and add that certification here. If there is no certification for the vendor, you can leave it blank. And in the transaction button, if you click on the transaction button, the system will show you a new form wherein you'll be able to see all the existing transactions for this customer and the system. That is the transactions form. And if you want to find out the balance of this vendor, you can click on the balance button. It will show you the existing balance for this vendor. You can also search for a vendor based on multiple filters, and if you want to do that, you can just click on the vendor search, and it will give you multiple criteria that you want to search that vendor to. If name contains, which city the vendor belongs to, which state. For example, if you want to filter only those vendor which belongs to a specific state, you can just specify the city here or a state here, and click OK here, and it will search and will give you the vendors only for that specific city. This functionality is very, very useful when you are doing the research on how many vendors are there in a particular region. Okay, and if you want to export all the vendor information into an Excel file, you again have this option to export to Microsoft Excel. And if there is any attachments like scan copies or any files from the vendor, you can click on the attachments here, and click on a new form will be open, and you can select if it is a file, you can select a file, or if it is just a note, you can select a note and add that attachment here for the later purposes. And I'm going to click on the procurement tab here. In the procurement tab, again, you have multiple options. The first option is to create a purchase order. You can directly create a purchase orders from the vendor by clicking on this button. You'll be presented with the purchase order creation form, which we will see in the later stages of this class. And the next is request for quotation. If you click on this button, it will again show you a new form where you can start creating a quotation and submit to the vendor. And you have a purchase requisition. You can create a purchase requisition from here, and you can create a planned purchase orders, and you can see all the existing trade agreements for the particular vendor or a purchase agreements. And if you click on the purchase orders, you will be presented with 3 options. First one is all purchase orders, second one is purchase order confirmation, and third one is back order purchase lines. Again, if you click on the purchase order, system will show you the list of all the purchase orders for this particular vendor. And if you do a purchase confirmation, it will show you only the purchase orders which are confirmed. And similarly, back order purchase order lines. And for a vendor, you can directly click on the product receipt, and you can show the list of product receipts that are posted for this particular vendor. And you can see a list of trade agreements, and if you want to create a purchase agreement, you can directly create it from the vendor master itself. Clicking on that, it will open a new form. This is a payment purchase agreements. If you click on the purchase agreement, and you can start creating a purchase agreement for this vendor also. So I'm not going to discuss that here. It will be a separate topic altogether. So first we'll complete the purchase order. So first we'll look only onto the vendors. Okay. This is the procurement. So in the invoice button, you will see the payment journal. You can post an invoice from this journal from here, and also the matching policies. You can check matching policies can be defined with the parameters. Like once you can have multiple matching policies. Like when you create a purchase order, it has to, when you're creating an invoice for this purchase order, it has to be matched on the purchase order confirmation quantity. It has to be matched to the product receipt. It also has to match with the purchase order's invoice quantity. In the settlement section, you have again 2 options. You can settle open transactions directly from here, and you have a closed transaction editing. So these are the main important options that are available on the vendor master form. Last but not the least, and you can also post a prepayment for this particular vendor. You can click on the apply button where you will be asked to enter the amount that you want to prepay for this vendor, and click OK. That will be applied. And if you want to reverse it, click on the reverse button, and it will automatically reverse the payment which was made to this vendor. So this is also quite useful when you're dealing with multiple vendors and multiple payments, because as a human being, we are prone to errors, and using the reverse option will help you to get back and do it from start again. Okay. This is all about vendor creation. So as we are now has a basic understanding of what the vendor is and how to create a vendor and how to assign default values to this vendor, we will move on to the purchase order. In the purchase order section, all purchase orders, this is the purchase order form where it will list you all the purchase orders existing in the system. If you want to create a new purchase order, on the new section you click on the purchase order button. It will show you a new form. The first thing it will ask for is to select a vendor. I click on the vendor account drop down. It will show the existing vendors. Click on the first vendor and it will ask you to transfer the existing information from the vendor master. Clicking on yes will transfer all the information onto this, and on the general form you have the invoice account and purchase order type and accounting date and delivery date, site and warehouse. All this will be defaulted automatically because we have already specified this information onto the vendor. Once you select the vendor and click OK, all that information will be extracted and will be updated onto the create purchase order form. I click OK. Once I click OK, a purchase order will be created automatically and the purchase order number will also be assigned automatically. This is based on the number sequence that we have given in the parameters. We will discuss parameters later once we complete all the sections in the purchase order. So now the purchase order is created. On the purchase order line sections, the next thing we need to select is the item which you want to purchase. So in the item number section, I click on here and you'll be presented with a list of options. From this list you can sort and filter out the item which you want. I'll select the second one, which is 64. Again, once you select the item number, all the information from the item master will be fetched and updated onto the purchase order. You don't have to enter anything manually. You have your site, you have warehouse, and if you have any location, batch location, if you want to specify from which location you want to receive your stock, you can specify this. And the quantity, how much you want to purchase, and the unit price, I'll specify 100. Okay, and this will be updated. Now as all the information is updated, I'll click on the purchase order tab and I will confirm the purchase order. And once I confirm the purchase order, this document will be sent to the vendor as a proof that the purchase order has been confirmed. When the purchase order has been confirmed, under the journal section you have this purchase order confirmation enabled. This means that the journal has been posted. If you want to print the journal, you can double click on the journal and under the preview and print you can click on the original preview, which you can print the confirmation report onto the printer and you can take a hard copy of it for the additional proof or for internal purpose. Okay, so basically that is the confirmation report. So if you click on the manage tab, if you click on the receive tab, you have multiple options here. You have the first option is posting the receipt list, second option is product receipt. Receipt list is not mandatory for most of the process because posting the receipt list is like confirming the received items. You can do it and you don't have to do it. That again depends on the business process. And clicking on the product receipt will open a new form which will show the items that you have selected, all the dimensions, everything. All you have to do is enter the product receipt number here. Like for example, I have entered 147 and click OK to post the product receipt. Here it's showing it's throwing an error like fiscal period 4/23/2019 is not open. That is because the financial year is not open in the tested environment, but if it is a live environment it will get posted automatically. Once it is posted automatically, that means that we have purchased that items and they are physically posted onto the system and your inventory levels will get automatically updated. And the next step is posting the invoice because this also needs to be financially accounted for. And in the invoice tab you have an invoice button here. Click on it. Clicking on it will open a new form. You have to okay, this is the invoice form. Okay, what happened? Okay, this is the invoice vendor invoice form where you have multiple options. You can see the header view, you can see the line view, and in the financials tab you have amount distribution amount, where it will give you the distributed amount. And also, if you have any charges for this particular purchase order, you can click on the charges, maintain charges, and in the charge code you select you can select multiple charges. Like for example, you have a freight charge, you have a handling charge, you have installation charge, and you have miscellaneous item charges, rebates. You click on it, and in the charge value you have to specify how much is the charge. For example, I have selected 100, and if you go down, it will be automatically updated as freight charge for 100 rupees, and click close. That's it. The IT charge will be assigned to this automatically, and you have to click on allocate charges and click allocate, and so the 100 rupees will be allocated as a charge onto the purchase order. And if you want to see how much sales tax has been created, you have to click on sales tax. Nothing is there, so it's a purchase order, so you will not have any information displayed there. Once you click on the next tab, that is review, you have the first option is matching details. Matching details is nothing but you have to make sure that the order quantity is in sync with the product receipt quantity, and also in sync with the inventory quantity. It will give you the exact comparison between the price between the quantity when the purchase order is created and the quantity when the purchase order is invoiced. You can manually validate it, and if everything is okay, you can click close, and you can post the invoice. So if you go back to the vendor invoice section, here under the action form you have a button called post. You click on that and post button. Invoice must be specified on the purchase order. So see, even if I post it, the system will throw in a warning message that some information is missing. By that we can validate the vendor invoice. In our case, we have forgot to mention the number, that is invoice number. So I will enter the invoice number here, and also the invoice description. And what would be the invoice date? That would be today's date. So once I have entered all that information, we can post the invoice. And also, in addition to that, we have an additional options, like we can keep this vendor invoice on hold. How we can do that is, you have a section called invoice status details, where you have an option on hold. You have to just click on enable this, and this will be on hold until our clarifications our doubts are clarified. And if their doubts are clarified and you want to go ahead and invoice this vendor, you disable this, and once all the information is submitted, and you can click on the post button and you can post it. This is how the entire purchase cycle is. This is how you can create a purchase order, and you can finally invoice it. And in the next, we will be discussing about the transfer orders. So step 1 is creating a product and product masters. So let's jump into the application and see how it looks. So this is the AX application. If you see here, from the drop down, you can see all the modules which are available, and you have product information management for maintaining the products, and you have sales and marketing and account receivable modules for creating a sales orders, and for the account payable and procurement and sourcing modules for creating a purchase orders, and inventory warehouse management for working on your inventory stock. As our first topic is creating product and product masters, we will select product information management. In the product information management, you have 4 sections: common section, periodic, reports, and setup. In the common sections, you have the informations about product masters, release products, and everything. And in the periodic, you have jobs. And in the reports, needless to say, you have all the reports. And in the setup, this is the place where you can configure different types of rules for this product. So let's begin. If I click on the products, it will open a new form, which is nothing but a product list form, where you can see all the list of products that are created, and the type of the product, and basically the information about all the products in your system. Let's start by creating a new product. In order to do that, you have to click new product, and it will show you a small window where it will ask you the product type. We will select item, product subtype is product, and the product number is automatically generated for a number sequence. Let's say we have created this and click OK. See, our product has been created here. Double clicking on it will open a new window. Here we have to click edit, and we can start editing the information. That's it. As simple as that. We have created a product for the legal entity. Now coming to the product masters, we go back to the product information management, click on the product masters. Product and product masters are different. How is, product does not have variants, but product masters do have variants. Like if I click on product dimensions, you see you will have size, color. So these are nothing but product variants. So when you're creating a product master, these are the product dimensions is a mandatory information. That is our first topic, product and product master creation in the product information management. Now we will see how to authorize a product to a legal entity. Authorizing a product to a legal entity is nothing but releasing a product to a company. Let's say, okay, I will okay, let's say we are in products. These are my products, and I want to release this product 64 to a, right now this is in customer enterprise company. If I want to release the same product to another company, we can definitely do that. How is that? We have to click on the release product and select company. I will select CEEI, and your company will be here, and you click OK and click OK. So, and that's it. It will, if you see on the right hand side, the product is now in both the companies. So this is how you release a product to different legal entities. And the next topic is how to create an item group. If you notice, this will be in inventory, warehouse and management. Before talking about that, let me also talk about the release product. Release products, clicking on the release products will give you a list of all the items which are there in your present company, the company which you logged in. You have to manually release the product to each company, and if you go into that company and if you select the release product, you will have a list of items that belongs to that specific company. Okay, once we are here, if you click on here, you will have assigned dimension groups, and now you will have storage dimension group and tracking dimension group. We can assign it here. We'll talk about it a little later. First we'll talk about item group. When I double click on the item, a new form will open, and it will have a lot of options to configure. In the general section, you can configure storage dimensions, tracking dimension and item model group. We'll talk about item model group a little later, but if you come down, there are a lot of options that you can assign. You can assign, basically you can assign a lot of like configurations to this particular item. Like if you see here, item sales tax group, if you click edit, it will give you an options to change it. Okay, and now if you want to assign an item model group to this particular item, you can click on the item model group button, and it will give you a list of different item model groups that are available in the system. You can click, select, and it will be assigned to this item. And if you want to assign a product dimension group, you can click here in storage dimension. If you click on the drop down, you'll have a list of storage dimensions which are available on the system. Clicking on it will give you an option. Clicking on it will be this, whatever you click, it will be automatically selected for the storage dimension. Similarly for the tracking dimensions also, what exactly is the storage dimension group and what exactly is the tracking dimension group, we will look into it in a while. Okay, so now we will look into what is a batch and what is a serial number. Batch and serial number are also part of the product information management module. So for the batch and serial number, we go to inventory and warehouse management. In the inquiries section, you will have a dimension section where you'll see batch and serial number. If you click on the batch form, it will give you a list of all the batches which are available in the system, and you can click on new, and you can create a test batch, and you can assign an item to it, and give a date of the batch, and you can also assign an expiration date for that batch. So these are the multiple options you have for the batch. And if you also see that if you click on the on hand button, you'll be able to see the inventory available on this batch. And you have an inquiry session where you will see the non-conferences and the quality orders assigned to this batch, and by clicking on trace, you'll be able to find and running this, you'll be able to find where this batch has been used throughout the year. So this is how you create a batch. When it comes to serial number, it is similar to creation of a batch. Once you click on the serial number menu item, it will show you a new form where it will give you a list of all the serial numbers which are present in the system. And for creating a new serial number, you have to click new, enter your information here, select an item number assigned to that serial number and the manufacturing date. And similar to the batch creation, you have an on hand button. By clicking on it, you will be able to see the on hand stock of the serial number, and the transactions button will show you the list of transactions that this serial number is associated to it. Trace you'll be able to see what transactions are there for this particular serial number. So this is how you can create a serial number and batch number. Creation is fine, and the next step would be, how do we assign this batch number and serial number on an item? This is the famous misconception that we will directly assign an item number and a batch serial number to an item. But how we do it is, when you're creating a sales order or when you're creating a purchase order, in the transaction you have to manually select your batch and your serial number, and once you confirm and post the transactions, the batch and serial number will be automatically updated in your inventory. The next step is unit of measurement. Unit of measurement belongs to organization administration module. You can define a unit of measurement in the organization administration module, but you can also do it directly on the product information management form. Let's say, for example, you have an item which is a release product and you want to assign a unit of measurement for that particular item. You come to product information management, common section, release products. It will show you a list of products are available in the system. You select the item and click on, in the action pane, you click on manage inventory. Now one second. Okay, yeah, unit conversion. You click on unit conversions. Okay, it will open a new form for unit conversions. You have to select interclass conversions and click new button. Your product information will automatically pop up here, and you have to just enter from unit and to unit. For example, if you have a box and if you have each, 10 eaches is equals to 1 box. So from unit will be a box and to unit will be each. Calculate. So one box is equals to one each. If you give 10 here, let's see what happens. I'll keep the denominator as 1 and I'll keep the numerator as 10. So if you see that one box is equals to 10 eaches. This is how you create a unit of conversions for that item. What happens is that when you create a sales order and you have selected an item and that item is on boxes, but the inventory you are storing is on eaches, you just have to enter the one quantity there in boxes, but when you actually receive that quantity, and 10 eaches will be updated in your system. That is why the unit of conversion is very crucial, and it has to be assigned to each and every item in your company. Moving on to the next topic, creation of tracking dimension, creation of storage dimensions. These two options will be part of the product information management. Previously we have seen that if you click on the product, you click edit, in the administration section you can see storage dimensions and tracking dimensions, but however you cannot edit it because they are already grayed out. That is because you have another section in the action pane called dimension group. If you select it, you'll have a drop down menu, and this will give you an option to change your storage dimension or assign a storage dimension to an item. Similarly, the tracking dimensions. We'll also look into what is the storage dimensions and tracking dimensions and why it is important to assign these tracking dimensions and storage dimensions to an item. To go into that form, I'll right click on the storage dimensions and view details. So this is the storage dimension group form. If you see, if you want to create a new storage dimension, you have to just click on new, and you have to make the primary stocking as yes. Here in this section you'll have site, warehouse, location and pallet ID. You have to activate site and warehouse, and if you want to also track your inventory for the location, you can also activate the location, but suggested is site and warehouse. Remaining options are not very mandatory, and in the for purchase price and for sales price you can select enable it on the site and you're on the warehouse. So this is how you can create a storage dimensions. Similarly, you can also create a tracking dimensions. When we talk about the tracking dimensions, the things which come to our mind is batch and serial number. Similar to the serial dimensions, for creating a new tracking dimensions you have to click new, enter your name of the tracking dimension group, description, and you have to, if your inventory is having a batch number enabled, you can activate it by clicking active, or if you have a serial number tracking enabled for your inventory, you can activate it by clicking serial number in the active session and save it. So as now we have created a tracking dimensions and storage dimensions, we have to assign them or to the product. How we assign it to a product? From assigning a dimension group, select, and it will show you a drop down, and select the storage dimensions which you have recently created, and similarly for the tracking dimensions also, and click OK. And so these dimension groups will be automatically assigned to your release product. So this is all about assigning the tracking dimensions and storage dimensions to a product. Our next concept is journals. So journals is part of inventory, warehouse and management. So basically when you talk about the journals, it refers to your stock. That is, if you go to the inventory and warehouse management, on the right hand sections you have journal section. In this journal section, under item transactions, you have movement, inventory adjustment, transfer journals. These are the main three journals that we use on a day-to-day basis for the inventory management. We'll talk about the movement journal first. Movement journal is used to move the items from a location, from a warehouse or from a site. In order to create a movement journal, you click You click the movement menu item and a new form will open. Here you click a new button and you have to select the movement journal, and the journal name will be automatically popped up, so you don't have to worry about it. And you click on the lines section. In the line section you will be given an option. Date will be automatically popped up, no need to worry about it. In the item section you have to select your item from the drop down list. Once that is selected, if the item is configured for size, color and site, you have to select it. If not, you can leave it. And then the site is mandatory. You have to select your warehouse. If it is enabled for batch, you have to select your batch. If it is enabled for location, you have to select your location. Similarly, the serial number, how much quantity you want to move, and the cost price of this item. And finally you have to specify an account, because this has to be financially also noted. So you have to just click here and it will show you a list of accounts available. Select the account, and once this account is selected, you have to click validate. It will validate. Click OK. It will validate your journal. It says journal is OK, and then you have to post. Click on the post button and it will automatically get posted. After posting the inventory movement journal, your inventory values will be updated. Why we use inventory journal is when you're doing an opening balance transactions, or if you want to take an item and move it to a sales show. In such scenarios usually we use movement journal. And now we'll talk about the inventory adjustment journal. Adjustment journal is when you want to adjust your items from one warehouse to another warehouse. Similar to movement journal, in order to create a new adjustment journal, you have to click on new here, select your journal name and click the lines button. You have to select your item number, size, color, site, warehouse, batch, location, serial number, and how much the quantity you want to adjust, cost of that, and cost amount. In the inventory dimensions, you can select all your inventory dimensions here. If you have a financial dimensions for this, you can also select the financial dimensions. Once it is done, click on the validate button to validate the journal, and what it does is it validates and it will show you if there is any error in this journal. Once that is done, you click on the post button, which will post the journal. And here you have an option called functions. If you click on it, it will show an option to delete the journal lines. This will automatically delete the journal lines for you. And also if you click on the inventory, you have a lot of options like the transactions of this item, the on hand for this item, and the reservation for this item. If you have any output orders and dimension displays, you can add multiple dimension displays onto this form. So the multiple options, so you can play around. So this is all about inventory adjustment journal. So we have covered the movement journal and we have covered the adjustment journal. Now we'll look into the transfer journal. Transfer journal is used to transfer the items from one warehouse to another warehouse. Okay, so in the inventory warehouse management module, on the journal sessions, if you see, you have to click on the transfer journal. A new form will open. It will give you the list of existing transfer journals in the system. If you want to create a new transfer journal, click new, and you have to select the journal name. And once the journal name is selected, journal will be journal number will be automatically created. And click on the lines button. And here, click on new button to create a new line. And you have to select your item which you want to transfer it to a different warehouse. Once you selected the item, you click on the inventory dimensions, where it will ask you what is the dimension that item is presently in. You can select your size, color, site, warehouse, batch number, location, pallet ID, and serial number. And in the 2-dimension fields, you can select the size, color, site, warehouse, batch number, location. Basically, we are moving the item stock from inventory dimensions to the 2 inventory dimensions. And also if you have any financial dimensions, you can click on the financial dimensions tab, enter all your information here, cost center, department, expense and purpose, and that's it. Once all the information is entered, you click on the validate button, click OK. This validates whether your journal is fine or not. If you miss any information, and if you have given a wrong information, validating the journal will help you to identify that. Once your journal is okay, you click on the post button and click OK. It will automatically post your journal. And similar to other journals, it also has functions where you can see the delete journal lines, and also the inventory options where you can see all the transactions on hand, trays, reservations, pick, output orders, and dimension displays. This is similar to the remaining items. So this is all about the transfer journal. And now we will move on to counting journal. Counting journal is a process where your inventory will be counted, and if there is any mismatch when compared to the system and to the physical warehouse, this will be adjusted accordingly. In order to do a counting journal, you have to go to inventory and warehouse management. Under the journals form, if you go to the item counting, you can see the counting here. Click on that. Clicking on that, it will open a new form. This is the counting form. It will show you the list of existing counting journals which are already there in the system. And if you want to create a new counting journal, you have to select open under the show and click new button. And you have to select on what dimensions you want to do accounting. Is it based on warehouse, batch, location, serial number? After selecting this, click OK. And a new counting journal will be created. A number will be automatically assigned to it. You have to select the name of the counting journal. This is mandatory. And once that is selected, click on the lines. It will show you, it will be the empty in the beginning. For example, I'll show you this one. Okay. This is how it will be. And if you want to start counting, if you want to do a manual counting, then you can click on the new button here and you can start entering the item number and its dimensions like site, colors, warehouse, batch number, location, pallet ID, serial number, all the inventory dimensions. But if you don't want to do it manually, if you want system to automatically count the existing items, you have to click on the create button here. And after clicking on the create button, basically you will be prompted with three options. One is an on hand, one is an item, and one is an expired batch. If you click on if you click on hand, it will basically count all the items on the system. And if you click on items, it will also count for all the items, but excluding the items which are expired. But if you click on the expired batches, it specifically counts those items which are expired, which batches that are expired. So we don't want to get into items and expired batches. If you click on hand and click OK button here, it will automatically create and bring all the data like this. So if you see on the right hand side, on hand, it is showing as 159, 149. So these are the items which have on hand. And one warehouse user will, once this is created, the warehouse user will directly go to the warehouse and physically count the stock for this particular item with the configurations like size, color, and warehouse. Once he identifies, once he counts, he will get to a number and he will come to this journal and enter the number in the quantity field. Let's suppose I have counted as 173, but I can see that 347. I can see that a quantity difference of 173 is there. So I will select who is the person who has actually made the counting here. Let me select Adam Barr. Okay, the worker is also selected. Now after entering the counted quantity, system will automatically give the total quantity, the remaining quantity, and all you have to do is to post this counting journal for the system to automatically adjust it according to your input. First you click on the validate button to make sure that no wrong information has been entered. If there is any wrong information, it will display in the screen like this. For example, right now it is showing nothing has been entered on the line, nothing has been entered on the line. So that means that we have there are some blank lines because of which the system is throwing that particular error. If there is no blank lines, it will not. It will say the journal is okay. and you simply have to click on post button, and the journal will be posted, and your stock and your inventory will be auto adjusted as per your count. And similar to the other journals, you have all these options like function. It will give you an option to delete journal lines, and inventory, it will give you an options to go to the transactions on hand of this item, trace, reservation, registration, output order. And if you clear the create, as we already discussed, all these options will be presented to you. So this is about the counting journal. Okay, now we have seen all these topics like how we create a product and product master, and authorizing the product setup to a legal entity, item group, item model group, batch number and serial number, unit of measurement, creation of a tracking dimension, creation of a storage dimension, and basically all the journals, that is a movement journal, transfer journal and counting journal. Now we are left with sales order, purchase order, transfer order creation. Basically, if you talk about the sales orders, the entire sales cycle, we will discuss it now. So when we talk about the sales cycle, we have to also talk about the customer, because that is the initial point of sale. Let me go back to the application. So in our application, first, if you want to create a customer, you have to go to account receivable module. Under the common section, under the customers, you will have all customers. Clicking on this will give you a list of existing customers in your company. You can also go through this form by going to sales and marketing. Under the common section, all customers. So both forms are same, and it will solve the same purpose. If I click on the all customers, you will be presented with a list form which will basically displays all the customers on your present company, customer account, telephone number, basically all the related information of the customer. And in order to see that, you double click, select the customer and double click on it, and here under the general section you have an account number, the record type, and the name of the customer, which group they belong to, and address of the customer. And if you want to make any changes to this, you click on the edit button, and all these fields will be editable. If you come down, you have multiple sections here like address, contact information, miscellaneous details, sales demographics, credit and collections, invoice and delivery, sales order defaults, payment defaults payment, all these sections. Let us go through one by one. In the address section, you can click on the new button and start adding the address. Here you have to type your address, and in the address section you can select the zip code, street, city, country, and the contact information here. This is about the address section. If you come down, next one is contact information. In the contact information, similar to the address section, you have to click on the add button, and you can give a phone number to the customer, email address, and but you have to select one as a primary, because when you're creating sales reports, the control will come and see which number. You can have multiple contact numbers, but one should be the primary. It will take that and print it on the report. You can have multiple phone numbers and you can have multiple email addresses. That is not a problem. And the next one is miscellaneous details. Here you can specify is it a one-time customer, or it's a continuous customer, or a country, or the region, state and province, sales demographics, and you have credit and collection sections where you can say that whether the credit limit is mandatory for it or not, how is the credit rating for the customer, what is the credit limit for the customer. You can enter your amount here. And under the invoice and delivery section, you have the invoice account for this customer, similarly invoice address, number sequence group, and in the delivery section you can give a delivery term and mode of delivery of this for this customer, and the destiny code, and you can also give a sales tag to this customer. And in the sales order default section, you can give some information which will be defaulted on the sales orders, like sales order pool, order entry deadline, and supplementary items if there is any. And finally, payment details, the terms of payments for this customer, and what is the method of payment of this customer, and so. In the financial dimension, you can specify the cost center, department, and expense purpose. So all this will serve, all these details which you enter and save here will serve as a default values when you create a sales order, and will get automatically fetched onto the sales order. This is the first tab. In the first tab in the action pane, if you click on the contacts, you can see view contacts, add contacts. You can add contacts to this customer from here. And if you go to the transactions, if you click on the transactions button, it will give you a list of all the transactions this customer went through. This is a new form. It will give you all the list of transactions that this customer went through. And next is balance. If you click on the balance button, it will show you the balance for this customer. And next, I'll go to the cell tab. In the cell tab, in the new section, you can directly create a sales order from here. There is an option here. You can create a sales quotation from here directly. And if there is any opportunity for the lead, you can click on the opportunity and create this opportunity. You can create a trade agreement from here directly from the customer master. And under the related information, you have quotations. Clicking on it will give you a drop down list. The first one is quotation. Clicking on it will show you the list of quotations that were created for this particular customer. Okay, I'm going back. We'll talk about the quotations a little later. Once the customer, once we are well aware of the customer. Okay. Next, in the orders, if you click on the orders, you will get a drop down. It will show you multiple options like sales order, confirmation journal, order lines, and back orders. Clicking on the sales order will give you the list of all the sales orders that were created for this particular customer. Similarly, the confirmation journal and the order lines and the back orders. And here we also have packing slip, leads, and opportunities. And if you click under the trade agreements, if you click on the sales price, you'll be presented with a lot of options where you can define the price for this customer. Similarly, you can define discounts. Again, discounts can be different types of discounts. You can define a line discount, you can define a multi-line discount, you can define a total discount. And if you click on the setup, you can also define the external item description for this customer. Let's say, for example, some customers have a specific items, and you can define it here. And item posting, you can define it. Okay. And then we'll move on to the next tab, that is invoice tab. And the first, in the new section, you have a free text invoice. You can create a free text invoice directly from here. By clicking on this, it will open a free text invoice form. All you have to do is enter the required information and post that. I just clicked on the free text invoice. It is taking a little time. Let's see what happens. Okay, this is the free text invoice form. This is another topic altogether. We'll come back to it. Okay. Next is invoice journal. Clicking on it, you'll be able to see all the posted invoice journals for this particular customer. So these are the main important fields that you must be aware when you're creating a customer. And additionally, if you want to export this data onto the Excel, you have an option here under the list group. Click on the export to Microsoft Excel, and a new Excel will be downloaded with all this data. And attachment, if you have any attachments like scan copies or any notepads, all that, you can click on this attachments button. A new form will be presented to you. If you click on the new button, it will give you an option whether it's a file you want to attach, or URL you want to enter, or it's a notepad you want to enter. Click on it, and it will allow you to attach that notepad onto this specific customer. So this is all about the customer. And now it's time that we create a sales order. In order to create a sales order, either you can go to account receivable module or sales and marketing module. As we are already in the sales and marketing module, I'm going to click on sales and marketing, and under the common section we come down, and if you see sales orders, all sales orders, Clicking on this all sales orders menu, it will give you a list of the existing sales orders in your system. Either you can select from the existing sales order and continue with that, or if you want to create a new sales order, that is also fine. In order to create a new sales order, in the action pane you have this new sales order button. Clicking on it, it will ask you for additional information like which customer you want to create a sales order. In the customer account, I select the first one, 1101, and you have to click yes, so that all the information from the customer master, the default information, will be transferred across to here. And if you click on the general tab, it will say that order type is sales order number will be automatically calculated from the number sequence from the parameters form, and the invoice account number will be automatically picked from the customer master form, and all the okay. And if I minimize this and shipping, you can specify the requested receipt date and requested ship date here in this section, and the delivery date control would be the sales lead time, and the mode of delivery, the mode of delivery for this particular order, and the delivery terms you can specify it here. All this will be defaulted from the customer master, and once all the information is here, you can simply click OK. This will automatically create a new sales order for the for example, in our case it is Forest Wholesales. Okay, now the sales order is created. The next thing we need to enter here is item. If you click on the item here in the sales order line, select the item, click on the add line, a new line will be created, and then click on the item number. It will present you a drop down list. From the drop down list you can select one of the items, and all the data from the item master will be automatically picked and will be presented onto the sales order. Will be extracted and updated onto the sales order. For this item, you have the product name automatically updated, sales category, quantity, unit of measurements, configuration, size, and everything. So all the information will be updated, and you have to add for which site you want to create a sales order. So I've selected the site, and I also will select the warehouse. There is no batch configured for this item, so I'm leaving it blank. No location, no serial number. Unit price is 500 for this item, and if you click on the line details, whenever you see a star red mark, that means the data has to be entered into it. Okay, I updated all that information. Let me see. Okay, perfect. So everything is fine. Let me see the setup, address, delivery. Okay, looks fine to me. So what I'm going to do is I click on the sell button and click on the sales order confirmation. When you click on the sales order confirmation, I think this particular sales order has an issue, so I'll open another sales order. Okay, this one. When you click on the sales order confirmation button, a new form will open. Okay, this is the sales order confirmation. A new form will open. It will ask you to finally confirm this order, so you have to click OK, and you can also take a printout of this confirmation before sending it to a customer. Sales order confirmation is nothing but a document that you send it to the customer, informing that we have reserved these items for you and we will be sending it very soon. That means the sales order is confirmed. In the general sections you can see that sales order confirmation journal is enabled. That means it is posted successfully. And then we'll jump into the manage tab. In the manage tab, the first thing we need to check is customer credit limit. Does the customer have the proper credit limit available in our systems? By clicking on this, the system will automatically calculate the credit limit, and if it is okay, it will display the credit limit is okay info log, and by that we can ensure that the customer is well within his credit. So click on the pick and pack. Now it's time to the items are reserved, now automatically reserved. Now it's time to do a packing slip. In the pick and pack section, I click on the packing slip button. A new form will be displayed, and it will give you an option. It will automatically pull up the sales order number, site, warehouse, and everything. And if you click on the setup button, It will show you all the information. If you click on the line button, it will show you the item number, text of the item, site, warehouse, and all the information. All you have to do is click OK. After clicking OK, the packing slip will be posted. That means the items are taken from the system. If there is wrong information, it will show you the error message, like in this case, inventory dimension batch number must be specified. It is showing us that you have to specify the location, serial number, and batch number for this particular one. So we'll go back, click on the edit button of this item, and we will select the batch, and also we will select a location, and we will do select a serial number. And now the main concern is whether this quantity is reserved or not. I'll click on the reservation button. It will show me the exact available quantity. If it is not reserved, you have to click on the reserve lot, then the items will be automatically reserved. See, the one quantity has been reserved. And then if you go to pick and packs, you click on pick and pack and click on packing slip. Clicking on the packing slip here, it will automatically post the packing slip here. Once the packing slip is posted, you come to the invoice tab, and here you can see under the general section you have invoice button. Clicking on it will open a new form, and here under the quantity you can select all. And in the below section you can see all your item information, all the setup information, all the line details, all the sales order details. Cross verify to see everything is okay. And if you want to also cross check whether the sales tax is calculated or not, on the right side you can see the sales tax button. Click on that. Your sales tax information will be displayed here. Once everything is confirmed and you are sure that you can invoice this customer, click on the OK button, and it will show a warning message that update has been selected, but there is no print. If you want to print it, you can cancel it, and here in the print options you can select the option specified. And if you don't want to print, just click on OK button, click OK, and then your sales order invoice will be posted. Here in this sales order, it is showing us the option that this particular date, period, financial year does not exist, because this is a UAT environment. That's why the financial year is not updated to the current date, but the procedure will be the same. If you click on the invoice and select all the information and click OK button, if the fiscal year is set properly, then the sales order will be posted, and all your financial transaction, all your financial transaction and your physical transaction will be updated automatically onto the system. So this is all about the sales cycle. The next we'll look into the purchase cycle.